Okay, so today we're going to work on painting this balayage, and we are going to use a technique where I'm minimally painting but getting the most impact with it. So this is about, 6 months of a grow out. She's a natural level 6, and you can see our previous balayage painted on and how much lift and brightness we got before. So we're going to aim for that as well, and then pull some of it through on the ends just to brighten that back up. Let's get started. So the tools I'm using today from Product Club is the balayage brush, their clips, the silicone clip, the jet black extended cuff length gloves in size small, and then balayage film. First, we're starting off by sectioning her out. I'm going to section her into 3 different quadrants. The left side is one from the ear forward, right side ear forward, and then we're going to work in the back to begin with. And we're only doing a partial balayage on her. She has already a lot of brightness happening, and we just want to give it a little oomph, but we want to maintain a lot of her natural depth and dimension and everything that she has in the back. She's got a lot of brightness underneath, so no need for it. So we are minimally painting. There's only going to be about 4 sections in the back that we're painting. And it's just going to give that full brightness throughout look. And we're surface painting all the way through the ends. So for my first piece I'm painting, I am weaving it through because I want there to maintain her natural depth and dimension in this section. I don't want it to just be a solid panel of blonde. So we weaved thicker chunks, and like I said earlier, I'm gonna be just surface painting only. And you're gonna see here, I'm starting in the middle of my section and working the product up to the highest point I want it to be at. And then I am back brushing the rest to the other side of the section where I want the brightest point to be, because I want the brightest point of the section to be in the front of it, and then have a little bit more depth at the root towards the side of it in the back of the head. Now my product usage is pretty heavy, as you can see. Like, I want there to be a lot of product because I want a lot of lift. The more product you have, the more lift you're going to get. So that's what I'm going for, although she's already light through the end, so I'm not fully saturating all the way through. I don't want to cause a bunch of damage by fully saturating her, but just surface painting with a lot of product, you're going to get that lift and that saturation you want, and it'll be bright. Next section I did the same thing. I weaved thicker kind of pieces there to maintain that depth and dimension in it, kind of having that higher point on the edge of that section, leaving depth and stuff at the root in the middle of that section as well. So they're going to kind of meet in the middle there, and you'll see this once I lay this section down. Then I'm going to grab my balayage film and I'm going to wrap my pieces up. I like to wrap all of my balayages because I want to ensure that I get maximum lift. When they are open air, they do dry out a little quicker, so they're not going to get as much lift as they would if they were covered in the balayage film. So that's the point of why I'm always using the balayage film. And also it just helps keep everything clean and separated, and I don't have like bleed marks from my section to fall underneath. And I'll also see if I do end up like dropping any product underneath the hair that I didn't notice. Usually I'll notice it then because I'm lifting up my section to wrap it with the saran wrap. Because I know sometimes we drop product, we don't realize it falls underneath, and if you're open air, you're just not going to see it, and then next thing you know, you've got a little blob back there. So that's why another reason I love to use the balayage film. Now, I count this kind of as one section in the back, even though I separated it into 2. It just gave me a little more control because of how wide the head is back there. So this next section is right above it. I'm leaving hair in between. I also weaved my section there because I want to maintain the dimension, her natural depth through that top middle part. And we're, like I said, starting in the middle, working my product up now, applying a lot of product here because I want maximum lift. And you can kind of see the tension I'm using while holding my section, and then the elevation as well. So I always elevate my sections as I move up the head because it gives me one, more tension, and you need tension with balayage, especially if you're doing the back brushing, because if you don't have the tension you need when back brushing, then it can get a little messy. So that is the purpose of me elevating my section as I'm going and then back brushing. And then I apply more product in the middle because then I just brush that product up, move it up. It gives it a softer transitional look. Now you'll see again, here I am, I'm fully saturating all the way through those ends, but only surface painting. We don't want that extra damage from fully saturating, so, but we do want that brightness. And then I will wrap her with the balayage film. Here we are at the final section and pieces in the back that we'll be painting. You're gonna see I could do this as one section in the back, but she does have a part that kind of goes further back on the back of her head. So I wanna make sure that we don't leave any weird gappy darkness back there, because if I didn't separate it into two and just did it as one, once her hair kind of gets dirty day 1, 2, 3, that part will come through and her hair is going to separate. And then because we did it as one and we're only surface painting, that leaves the whole like underneath and top part of that just untouched. So you can imagine once that separates, then you'll see inside of that section, which would be all dark and leave kind of a dark hole. So that's why we are separating it into two sections on top of the head back here, because of that part line. So this is all that we're going to be applying to the back, just these 4 sections here. So some super minimal, they're larger sections, and you can kind of see the placement and how that section underneath the 2 top ones is going to fall and look beautiful once, you know, her hair does separate from being dirty. Now moving on to the front left quadrant. Our first section that we are separating out is the one around the ear, and we are doing a little bit thicker of a section again, and I am weaving it out because when you weave the sections like this, it really gives that diffused, beautiful softness, and it helps maintain more dimension through the top and middle of the head. So that's why I love doing that. With this section around the ear, we're really focusing on my points of brightness technique, which is, you'll see here, like that first section that first part I just painted is going to be a nice bright piece. That second one I'm painting there is also going to be bright, and then I'm going to lightly paint in between those, and you'll notice there's more product on those points of brightness than there is in between or on the side of it. And what that's going to do is give really bright parts where that more product is, and then just a softness in between, so it's not so harsh or stark, and it's not going to look stripy or liney or chunky in any way. So that's underneath that section, and now I'm just painting on top of the section just to blend it, melt it all together. And it's surface paint on the bottom of the section and the top of the section. I'm not fully saturating all the way through here, because if we were to do that, then she'd be really, really bright around the face, because we already know that this part of the hair, this finer usually, it can lift a little quicker and just get brighter faster. So that would definitely happen. If she was going for that, I would smush it all the way through, but I didn't want it to be like ultra bright compared to everything else. So that's why we're just surface painting the top of the section and the bottom of the section. I'm wrapping her with the balayage film, and I like to use around the ear 2 squares of the balayage film, because my first one, when I lay it down, because of the angle I'm using for my sectioning, it doesn't quite cover all of it. It kind of leaves out right above the ear. So then I take a second piece and I just ensure that it's all covered, and I just wrap that around. So that's the purpose of the two squares there that I used. Next section is one above it, and I will be kind of weaving that section, doing little zigzag part line there. And then this one is going to have 2 points of brightness as well, but softness in between, just like we did on the one below it. And then we'll be fully saturating all the way through the ends. We did that with the bottom piece as well. Well, not fully saturating, but fully brushing that product on all the way to the ends. And then it's all just surface painting again. But you'll see my point of brightness here, and then you'll see it again to the right of it. And when I'm applying my product, I'm applying it kind of in that middle and working it up to the top, because I want less product at the top, more at the bottom. And you can kind of see how it is a little bit more heavy on that product usage in the middle there and less towards the top. And there I just combed my product out behind the front there because it was just a little too heavy looking. I didn't like how heavy that looked. So I just combed it out very lightly and then reapplied, give it a little bit more softness and all of that. And it doesn't, the comb I used, the width of the teeth, it doesn't comb the product through underneath, so then you get like weird lines and all that. It doesn't do that, I promise. I think it's the comb teeth width that really helps comb it just kind of down instead of through, which I love this technique also for just laying down baby hairs that get in the way, or just laying down hairs I just don't want in my way. Next, we're moving on to our front piece. So again, a little bit thicker of a section. I don't want it to be ultra bright compared to everything else, because the front piece does lift pretty nicely and quickly on its own. So we're sectioning that out first, and this is really where I focus my point of brightness technique as well, which you're gonna see here. And I'm also just going to be surface painting on the bottom of the section and surface painting on the top of the section, not fully saturating all the way through. I'll first start on the bottom of the section. I like to start there because I feel like I just have better control when I do that. And here you're gonna see my points of brightness here. I've got one right at where her part begins. That's where the point of brightness is going to start, where I'm painting right now. The second point is going to be following where her hairline goes. So I want my points of brightness to be where her hairline comes out the furthest. And then I'm going to softly meet those points of brightness together with lightly painting between. So then it gives that softness, but then she still keeps that dimension in the front, and it's not gonna be just like if she wears her hair back, it won't be solid blonde because we painted that whole section blonde to the root. You know, we did points of brightness and softly painted between the points of brightness to give that very subtle, beautiful balayage look. And now I'm going to be surface painting on the top. And here I'm only bringing my product all the way to the root in the front around her part line. And then everything else I'm back combing up lightly, but not all the way up like I did on the front of the section. Okay, so I'm gonna back out the camera a little bit here because this is where I want you to see how I am painting this section as a whole. So I'm bringing that product all the way down to the ends on the top of it and lightly back brushing up in the middle. See how I'm not going all the way to the root behind that front piece. And then I'm fully bringing that product through the ends on only the top, not the bottom, because she's already light through the ends. The top part of the section, the part that's already grown out is not going to lift as much as the stuff that's already light because the stuff's already light. So on the bottom of the section, it's going to meet up beautifully from how bright it is already to the new stuff that's being painted. And then the top of the section, it's going to be the color that we see throughout, plus and it's going to kind of blend into a little bit brighter on top of this section. So she'll get a little bit more brightness in the front, but not like ultra bright because we're not fully saturating. Okay, last but not least, our last section here on the left side, we are weaving that top out because I want to make sure that we keep dimension again. And then it's just going to ensure a better grow out, a softer blend. She'll be able to go a little bit longer in between because there's that dimension through it rather than just being a big blonde panel. So again, you'll see the elevation I'm using with my section here and the tension. I'm starting in the front of that section there, and I'm doing my points of brightness technique on this top section as well. So the front of my section is heavy product saturation, one of the points of brightness, and then I'm leaving space of her natural color and doing another point of brightness behind that, just not going up as high. So it's going to give that effect of brighter in the front to not as bright in the back. And then I am saturating that product all the way through to the ends, back brushing it up to give that, and you saw I kind of combed my product, and that was because the little hairs were getting in my way and I just wanted to lay those down, get them out of the way. So that's what I do. I comb my product down and then I reapply it, and it works beautifully. It didn't saturate through the back of the section either here. Yeah, it's wonderful. I can't say enough about that technique. I love it. So yeah, this is the last section on this side. We only did 4 sections on this side as well, so we're leaving out a lot of hair in between because we want to just maintain a lot of that natural depth and everything like that. And we'll finish her up by wrapping her with the balayage film. Now we are moving on to the right side of the head, the right quadrant. We will be doing the same exact sectioning and product application that we did on the left side of the head. So you can see I weaved out my section here. We're going to start on the bottom. We're going to start on the bottom of this section and have the points of brightness. Put the product lightly between those points of brightness just to ensure it's not one solid panel of blonde. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. It's same, like I said, same exact sectioning product application on this side like the other side of the head. So what I'm gonna do for the rest of the video of my application is I'm gonna speed it up. That way we're not watching the same thing over and listening to me just repeating myself a ton. It's exactly the same. Alright, so we've finished our application all the way through the head. We have 4 sections in the back, 4 on each side of the head. There's less hair on the side of the head, but I did want a little more brightness in the front on those sections, just like I said before, so it gives that really nice bright in the front to not as bright to the back. So here is our final painting application. And I do like to finish my applications off with 1 piece of saran wrap over the top, just fully tucking it all in. And here is our final result. Beautifully blended, super natural. She's got that just sun-kissed type of look, but has that bright, bold, money piece in the front without it being too ultra blonde. Thanks!